everyone. Welcome to the Queerness Diaries. Today, I am joined by Piotr Ciepiel, isn't it? The pronunciation. I'm always bad with names, pronunciation. So, all the way from sunny Barcelona. And how's everything with you today?
All well. Thank you so much, Connor, for having me, for creating this podcast as well. It's a needed voice, and yeah, you done really well. Piotr Ciepiel is the name, and I always like to say, listen, if you don't know how to pronounce, if you don't know how, just ask and
Yeah.
admit to it and communicate, and then it'll be fine. So for me, as often as possible, ask. But it is Piotr Ciepiel. So Connor, thank you so much for
Yes.
having me.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on. And so today we're going to be talking about everything to do with fitness, mindful fitness, and kind of our experiences and journeys as we've gone through a lot, both of us, and kind of what it takes to really get into a positive mindset with not only our fitness, but our body and how we feel about ourselves. But first, I wanted to kind of go through a bit of your backstory because I know you've lived in quite a lot of places because you've got the Irish twang, but you grew up right in Poland, then Belgium, then Ireland, and then eventually to Barcelona, right?
Correct. Yes, I when I was 4 years old, we moved from Poland to Belgium. So I
Yeah.
was raised in Belgium, and yeah, had my primary, secondary school in Belgium in a Catholic all boys school. And I feel like my calmness and like my just the way I am has also been brought out of this first few years of my life, because obviously they're the years that condition us really who we are. And then we moved back to Poland. My family started a couple of businesses in Poland, and that was then a massive culture shock for me, and a
Yeah.
huge shock to move from one school to, as I call it, jungle school. Like it was
Yeah.
just like wild, from a Catholic, everyone listens to the teachers. We're all well
Oh, yeah.
behaved. You suddenly, you're put into a school where everyone's just like shouts and is just like wild, and that's
Yeah.
how I remember this moment where I was 13 or 14, and I was, literally hiding behind mom, because
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? I don't want to be here. Like, I'm so well behaved. So yeah, and then many years spent in Poland, studied in Poland as well, and then moved to Ireland. And that's the Irish twang as well.
Yeah.
Ireland
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
out as well. So I definitely call Ireland second home.
Ah, nice. Yeah. And I think it's very true. Like in school, I had a similar experience, like until I was 11, and then we go off to secondary school in England. Like I went to a very strict religious school with the hymns and doing the plays and everything. And then I went off to secondary school, and it was just the complete opposite. And I was like, so shy back then and so quiet, and I did not know how to navigate it as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, originally from a small town in England called Telford, which is close to Wales. But I'm sure, like for you, the experience, like how was it sort of growing up and moving around and sort of, did you have as well when you were growing up in terms of, because we're going to be talking about sort of fitness and that mindset today, like from a young age, was there something you were
Mm.
engaged in, or were you very anti-sports? Because I was sort of, well, I don't say forced, but me and my father, like we used to go to Aikido, and he was very much the person that pushed me into sports. But otherwise, I was very much the geek that was on The Sims
Mm.
too, and didn't really like any sports really.
I loved the traveling. Like my dad, he was a sailor, so he always moved
Nice.
around. So he saw as well, because I was born in the 80s, and back then Poland was still under the USSR
Yeah.
regime. So he saw on every single trip, and he was going to Brazil, to Northern Africa, and different European countries, Scandinavia. He loved Scandinavia. He saw how people are brought up in this very more free, relaxed way,
Yeah.
right? And he saw as well that why are children in different countries, being so blessed by all the products, the clothing, the Lego, like all of
Yeah.
these things that you can have, and then Poland didn't have that. You
Yeah.
literally received oranges for Christmas,
Yeah.
right? So so he was very much, he could feel a lot of resentment towards Poland and communism. So, the best way for him was to move us out of Poland. And I was like, let's, we can do this. We can definitely be together. I was back then the only child. My sister was born in Belgium. There's an 8-year gap between us. She's younger. And yeah, and I remember, the first couple of I was only 4 years old, but I remember, that kind of freedom and that happiness and joy that came from um, everyone that lived abroad compared to the Polish
Yeah.
culture. And, and then I know as well for myself in the last couple of years, I had to really revisit my traumas and my wounds and my ancestors and my generational pain that I felt towards Poland, towards Russia, and towards USSR, etc. We can
Yeah.
definitely talk about that later as well. But I feel like he gave me that kind of that pill of let's travel, right? Let's
Yeah.
travel, let's
Yeah.
explore, let's just not stay in one place. Let's truly feel that life is an adventure,
Yeah.
and the upbringing for me in Belgium was an upbringing of blessings and joy and calm and peace and reunion, friendships, and
Yeah.
beautiful relationships. And funny how you ask about sports and fitness, because I always like to say as well, never judge a book by a cover, right?
Yeah.
Never. Because I was like completely not into any type of sports or any fitness, any gym or workouts for dun, 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 27 years of my life, right?
Yeah.
Nothing, right? I literally had a cert from the doctor stating that I have asthma, that I begged my grandma to get me so that I would not
Mhm.
go to physical activity at school. And that
Yeah.
was also brought because of the bullying that I experienced, physical and mental bullying. Because, as I said, and this is why everything kind of lines up and everything makes sense, because as a calm, well behaved child, when
Mhm.
you move at the age of 13 to a brand new school that is
Yeah.
wild, where everyone already has their connections and relationships and friendships built, and you're
Yeah.
suddenly joining a class that have been together for 6 years. Mind you, I joined the class that was the Olympic sports team for swimmers, right?
Ah, okay. So,
So
yeah.
everyone at the age of 14 was already ripped and built,
Yeah.
athletic, like literally teenagers, right? And they were swimming 2 hours before school, 2 hours after school, and I was just not able to catch up. Like I had
Yeah.
no. I mean, I had some fun physical activity at school in Belgium, but it wasn't anything compared to the Olympic competitive way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I of course, I forgive them as well, because after 3 years of being bullied, and also associating bullies with athletes. So for
Yeah.
me, it was just a quick way
Yeah.
of translating. If you're into sports, if you play soccer, you're a swimmer, you're a bully, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So why would I have anything to do with that? So I decided to study languages, to be really great at history, and decided to completely ignore sports. Physical aspect, I didn't care. Physical health didn't matter back then as well, until obviously later on in my life when my big breakdown happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, so for me, fitness was like a big no-no. Like I don't want to be a bully. I don't want to be bullied. I have nothing, I up until now, I still don't watch soccer games. Like I don't do any,
Yeah.
I just
Same.
don't
Same.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So it still has an effect on me.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I think those sort of years, especially through our early teens, are so monumental. But at the time, we don't realize just how much the environment we're around and the little comments from people really can stick. And then we have to unpack them as adults, and they can become trigger points or things that we have to work through. But in the moment, because school life goes so fast and there's so much happening, we don't maybe take in um, a lot of the things that are really shaping us. And those are really monumental years, for the early
Mm.
teens. And I remember quite similarly through secondary school, my parents were trying to find out like what I had. I didn't know it was ADHD at the time,
Mm.
but I'd be similarly with physical education, that was the subject that I would leave school and go to like a therapist and go for every Thursday and not do the physical education a lot of
Mm.
the time. But then when I'd go into school, people would have the attitude like, well, why do you get to miss a lesson? And
Yeah.
I really developed then like a fear, or not necessarily a fear of sports, but I was never very good at it.
Mm.
And plus, I was always the clumsiest. I always remember clumsy things on the playground. Like we do rugby. I accidentally almost broke the PE teacher's nose passing the ball, and everyone made fun of me for that. So I just built all these like fears around sport. And similarly, like in school, the sort of fit like group of guys were what I associated with the bullies. And
Mm.
so that made me retract even more. So I was never sporty as a teenager, but I loved adventurous things. I was the type
Mm.
of teenager and kid that would be doing urban exploration, exploring houses. I'd loved, even as a teenager, to go hiking on my own and skateboarding and all those sort of things. But I like to do it on my own. I think I
Mm.
didn't ever want someone to, like an audience or anything. And I'm not sure why that was. I've still not fully unpacked it, but it
Mm.
was like, even to this day, I still really enjoy hiking, but on my own. Put the
Mm.
headphones in and to go off, whilst a lot of my
Yeah.
friends would be like, you should join a hiking group. But for me, even in the present, like things like hiking, a lot of the outdoor fitness I do, I still enjoy doing on my own. It was the same in the gym. If my friend would be like, come join me at the gym, I'd be like, oh no, I've got to go on my own. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely as a teenager, I think as well, we're also finding ourselves, and it's very difficult as, you know, we're realizing with our sexuality
Mm.
and sort of, especially in those environments, like, especially back then, like for me, it was mid 2000s, like in the school environment, like if you even accidentally caught a glimpse, you know, of someone or
Mm.
the
Yeah.
PE teacher, you felt like, oh my God, someone's gonna out
Yeah.
me or think it's suspicious. And so it's almost like you start to play a role, and that's very detrimental as well. So it's like it's hard balancing all these different things.
Well, the truth is, the roles that you started to play were there to protect you. They were
Yeah.
there to safeguard you. So
Yeah.
I really like to look at my past and my clients' past as well, and how we have the capacity right now to reparent ourselves. We can
Yeah.
be, through different modalities, and that's exactly what I do with my clients. Help people reconnect with an old identity, understand that it's okay to let go of the identity that has served us. Because
Yeah.
again, the mind really wants, that's the only job of the mind, the brain, is to protect you, right?
Yeah.
Safety, right? Security. So if you're being bullied, it will make sure that you do everything that will not make you get bullied, or
Yeah.
but of course, then what is happening, though, unfortunately, as well, with the conditioning, you start giving yourself a script or a narrative that maybe it's your fault, maybe there's
Yeah.
something wrong with you, because obviously if everyone around you, that's what you think as well, because of course it's not everyone around you, but your mind thinks everyone
Yeah.
around you is different than you. Suddenly, this is the norm, so I'm not the norm. So, and
Yeah.
nobody back in it's beautiful. We live in a beautiful time right now where we do talk way more about diversity, inclusion, and we do want people to be their truest, most authentic self, right? In whatever expression that is. So that is a beautiful time. We have
Yes.
really come a long way. But back in the days, where same thing, like with being in Poland, I felt like I'm the only gay in the village, and I was
Yeah.
brought up in a really big town, like Szczecin, which is one of the top 15 big towns. Poland is a huge country, and
Yeah.
Szczecin has around 350,000
Oh yeah.
citizen. That's quite, it's quite a
Yeah.
big city. It's not a town, it's a city. And still feeling that I am the only one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
obviously there's something wrong with me. And then, you're looking at television, magazines, and you see a portray of queer that you don't resonate with, because again, spectrums, and it's like, well, I am not that. I'm not George Michael. I'm not Boy George. So who am, so you're kind of, and then you're hearing as well in the background all these noises from your family, making all these smart comments, right?
Yeah.
So they're, that are again deteriorating, the person and who they are as a being. So you start feeling like, well, if you hear that from your friends and family, what will they think about me then? So suddenly,
so true.
so there's, I mean, it's incredible once you start really observing that everything, from your past, I like to call it like chapters of your book, right? I do hope that all of us, whoever is listening and watching, that you have such a filled with anecdotes and journeys book that you can literally go through chapters of your life and be like, wow, this, I've done this and this and this. And without any blaming or shaming or judging or comparing, you start seeing your progression, evolution to where you are right now.
Yeah, it's so true.
And with so much loving kindness as well to each chapter, to each role that you had to play. You had to protect yourself. And of course, sometimes people ask me, but how do you know, for example, in work that they would not accept you? Well, I didn't. So I didn't know that. So it was better for me to just, play a role. And just go through this, I'm just gonna swim with them, So, but it's beautiful. And also what you mentioned before, about fitness and sports, and the reason why I also created mindful fitness, because I started to see that I need to have a slight separation with fitness per se, because that bullying aspect is still so ingrained, imprinted in me. So that was so big. So I felt like I need to create something that will resonate. And mindfulness comes through non-judgment, no comparison, more being a cheerleader than a critic. So for me, the mindful fitness aspect was really missing in sports and in fitness, in body acceptance, and and who you are as a person in the body that you have, this beautiful vessel that we all have. So so mindful fitness came at the right time for me to start talking more openly about fitness, mindfulness, bring my clients on that path as well. And the backstory to mindful fitness was also the journey that I had with my health scare, my cancer. Well, I don't like to say my cancer, it was cancer. So, but, the cancer journey itself. So there came a moment where I had to intuitively connect with my body, with the body that I hated for so many years and haven't done anything with that body, no physical activity, no exercise, whatever. So I started to be really tapped into my health, physical health, mental well-being, and the link between, and energetic health. So that's how kind of the evolution of mindful fitness and my fit coach that happened.
Yeah, and I think it's so important as well when you are sort of finding that relationship with yourself, you don't realize as well until something happens with your health, how important it is to really feel good about yourself on the inside and to start to put those aspects into motion. And then you find, okay, there's a lot of this trauma that maybe I've not dealt with that I need to now work through to start to feel good in the mind. And then in the mind, you can start to practice physically as well. But I think until something major happens, like a major shift, sometimes we don't realize it's sort of buried and locked away. And then something happens and it's like a trigger and you're like, oh, okay, I really didn't think of this or to even work on this. And then it sets things into motion then.
Yeah, and it will. And the thing about it is it will show up. It will come up.
Yeah.
Because if a wound is not revisited, not healed by your older self, this is why it's so important to reparent. So we kind of didn't touch on at the start what I do. So let me just quickly squeeze out what I do just in a couple of words. So as a coach and a mentor, I help people with the unpacking process. So I call the program that I've created and I implement for individuals, groups, and events, workshops, are called Unpack Yourself for a healthier body calmer mind and energetic abundance, energetic shift. Because it's so important to unpack the layers of your conditioning, your parents, your, the voices, in your head, the stories, the beliefs, the limitations, the blocks that have just stopped you, or made you think that you are a certain way, so you cannot expand and grow and evolve. So the limits have, so many people will, for example, not leave their home city, no hometown, because they just feel so safe there. So they won't even like explore or, go even on trips or adventures somewhere. So many people have that scare. So many people are so scared of really feeling connected and good in their own body, feeling good in their body, and that's another big aspect as well, which I help people to overcome that limitation that we put on ourselves, that we have to be a certain way to be accepted. Right. You have to have a six-pack abdominal visible to be accepted. And then suddenly, like, and all these magazines, they have truly, I feel, hurt us for so many years. They've put on a cover, a model, and it goes both for all genders, because they've just put a role up there, a mask that we are all thinking that we should attain, or we should filter ourselves into, right nowadays, with the social media hype of filters and AI. So we're kind of doomed as humanity if we will allow AI to take over, if we will not work with AI and we not become our truest, authentic, most powerful self as we are, and unpack that, we will be doomed. I truly believe in a beautiful coexistence of us and AI. So as a coach and a mentor, I help people with unpacking their conditioning, their layers, their stories, and help them heal faster, because you have to heal. Healing is a process, it's a journey, but you have to. You have to revisit some of the wounds to truly feel that connection, that you are limitless, powerful, incredible as you. Nobody, I'm not going to be Connor, and I hope you don't want to be Piotr. That's because this is not, but we can then coexist and co-create something beautiful as us, and fully embodying ourselves.
Yeah, it's so true. And for you, in sort of your personal story, what was it that sort of, in terms of the trigger of events that sort of led you to finding that acceptance with yourself and leading you on this journey into coaching now? Is it something that's evolved very much over time, or was it something that you really had a passion about? Because I imagine like it's pretty hard, because how long has it been since you were diagnosed with cancer now? Was it
12 years?
So 12. So I imagine like at the time, that was around when you started sort of the gym and everything, you said, more or less. And it's got to be like, I imagine like such a young age to receive the news that you've got cancer, such a shock to the system, and so much emotional sort of overwhelm. So how did you sort of, if you don't mind me asking, like feel in the moment, and how did that sort of incite the sort of change that you made and really push through mentally and physically and align all these things together?
Feel free to ask, Connor. I'm here as well to share, because I really want people through my story to not only feel a lot of relatability, and and a lot of people can actually stop themselves from allowing stress, burnouts to take over fully the body, and then the body will just give up. So for me, obviously now looking back, I see that this entire journey was built up, right? It was built up. So not accepting, not liking myself for who I am, I decided to truly, fully live my life through career. Right? Career progression, ladders, roles, titles, money, wealth, success. So when I moved to Ireland, and it was beautiful, because it's weird and beautiful, because as I moved to Ireland, I saw how much more open the Irish, society is towards LGBTQ plus, and everyone either had or knew someone in the family, friends that was queer. Where in
Yeah.
Poland, literally, I had no friend, nobody that was that was queer, that was gay, and I just felt like I'm the only person. Like, so there must be
Yeah.
something wrong with me. And when I moved to Ireland, so I saw this openness and this, celebration of being queer, but still something in my own mind said, but you should not have that. This is
Yeah.
not this is you're so then another trauma kicked in of you're Polish in Ireland. So then suddenly came
Yeah. Yeah.
another big topic of being a foreigner in a different country. You're taking away our jobs, and I heard all that as well. So
Yeah.
that was another big. So it's incredible to see how stories and life experiences are built on so many different layers. And again, you try to protect yourself. You try to make sure that whatever you do will be looked at in a favorable way. So
Yeah.
so I felt like, no, this is not my time for coming out. Here I am Polish. So this is my coming out. I'm Polish in Ireland. So let's just, let's work harder so I can prove my worth. Right.
Yeah.
So that was another big topic. And listen, I achieved incredible success, phenomenal external validation success, right?
Yeah.
Money was just flowing into my account. I had some incredible roles from senior team, director, management, working with the
Yeah.
best of the best in retail, traveling to different countries. So I had it all. As a
Yeah.
23, 24, 25-year-old, I was literally living the dream, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was all according to the mind and social
Mm.
expectations. So
Yeah. Yeah.
my entire family was so proud of me. "Oh, Piotr, you're the first Polish that makes such a
Yeah.
career abroad." So, and of course, and as children and up until adulthood, we look up to authorities, and parents are authorities, teachers are authorities, doctors. So we are looking up to whatever they say. It's almost like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm just going to listen to you. And yes, whatever you say, you want me to work more, I'll work more. You want me to
Yeah.
do, yes, I'll do whatever. My own identity, who cares? I'm just going to keep on proving my worth, and that I belong. So I have completely neglected my body, my physical health, completely. I overworked. Now, of course, we have these terms able to be used, like burnout. Back then it wasn't. It was just, you're just working so hard. You obviously you have to
Yeah.
earn your roles and your titles, and be validated each month.
Yeah.
So stress was accumulating. I started to feel exhausted, but for me, my burnout symptoms were, yes, exhaustion, but working more to
Yeah.
mask that, right? So
Yeah.
do
I
more, even
understand.
more,
Yeah.
do more. Exactly, right. So whoever wanted me to add another project to my work, I would be like, yes, of course, I'm going to add one more. Just
Yeah.
bring it
I
on. Let's
completely.
put it
Yeah.
on the baggage of success. Yay!
Yeah.
And completely neglected my body, no physical activity. My food was kind of all over the place. I didn't pay any attention to that. Meditation, absolutely not. It's not for me. I was actually laughing at people that are meditating because I was like, I'm too busy for that. I'm corporate. I am like, what is meditation?
Yeah.
Breath work, not even in my agenda. No, nothing. Right. So literally my physical health was deteriorating, and exhaustion, building that up. Eventually in 2012, I crashed. The body crashed. The body can only take as much. And this is why I really
Yeah.
love to share this story, because I would love whoever is listening to take an honest moment with themselves and
Yeah.
just see how their body feels, not the mind. The mind will always try to trick you, be like, come on, do more. Yes, do.
Yeah. So true.
Where in fact, you going on a hike by yourself, it's actually so good for your mental well-being,
Yeah.
not only for your physical health, but actually for your mental well-being. And so I crashed, and the body crashed, and after a week of a multitude of tests, of x-rays, blood test samples, bone marrow taken from my spine to check what was going on, because they couldn't find what was going on.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, when they were trying to identify what the illness is, I lost around 12 to 17 kg. All
Yeah.
right, that's in a space of 2 weeks, and I literally, my body was just, food was not holding on to the body, because, as again, the body just gave up
Yeah.
completely. It was just like we tried really to protect you, but you weren't listening. So then on the course of um, being diagnosed and hearing the first time the diagnosis, it felt like a surreal movie. It felt like, when in the movies they say something and then afterwards you don't hear the
Yeah.
person talking anymore.
Yeah. So it's like
You're
out
just
of
seeing
body. Yeah.
the mouth is opening and you're
Yeah.
just like literally going, did he just say cancer?
Yeah.
That's not, I mean, I am what? I'm young. I mean, I have, no family history. I was like, what, wait, hold on, what? But
Yeah.
also very blessed that it was in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland, because the way, doctors were dealing with cancer patients was in this really, how would I describe it, relaxed way. They didn't put a burden on top of it. They were literally
Yeah. Yeah.
saying, listen, you have cancer, it's okay, we'll deal with it, it's fine. So so having that kind of
Yeah.
clash as well with what I thought about cancer and what I actually have and the doctor's reaction, I felt really, protected and felt really safe. So
Yeah. That's
I trusted, and I'm really grateful that I've done chemotherapies, and I had to go through 16 chemotherapies in the space of a year and a half. And in that year and a half, something happened. I do believe we all carry intuition in us, and
yeah.
this gut sensation, gut feelings, right?
Yes.
You sense if there's like a dark street, not to go into the dark street. You sense all these things. You're like,
Yeah.
if somebody, butterfly effect, you can sense it. So intuitively, my body said to me, learn about the body,
Yeah.
start studying the body. So I started to become really obsessed with movement, physical exercise activities. What is the nervous system, how it works, how is the
Yeah.
respiration. And I started to educate myself on the human biology
Yeah.
and on what we can truly do with our own body, how powerful it is. I started to tap into meditations, mindfulness. I started to try out different breathwork techniques, and on that journey, I have become more aware of my health and what to do for my physical well-being that can impact my mental health and my energetic well-being. So that's kind of I know a bit of a long story, but I really wanted to pack it so there's a bit of um, an understanding as well where I am right now and where I was before, because I was definitely not active
Yeah.
physically, mentally, completely. Like meditation was not something that I wanted to do, and how the external validation was so needed for me
Yeah.
to really believe that I belong, that I'm accepted in the corporate world. So now, what I do is literally help also different corporations with
Yeah.
implementing well-being programs, diversity, inclusion, hosting workshops, talks. I'm a speaker at different events. So all of these things, I want people to understand that they don't have to go through burnout. Stress can be dissolved and used, and cancer doesn't have to be this big, scary thing. Because look,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can you can actually be the healthier version of yourself once you start really becoming one with your body.
Yeah. I think that's such an important lesson. And when burnout hits, it's like, and the first major burnout, like it can really feel like a ton of bricks, like a train has just come out of nowhere. Because I was quite similar to you in the sense when I moved to Madrid finally, I was 25 at the time. And up until that point, I'd kind of, been in the little countryside of England most of the time. So I felt like I wanted to live everything I hadn't lived. I couldn't be fully out here. I couldn't, but I was into fitness. Like I used to be going to the gym here, but it became obsessive when I went to Madrid in the sense of, I compared myself to everyone. I'm only like 170, but I started to be like anything I could pick apart about myself. And so I just would be in the gym 6, even 7 days a week. And I was doing all the things like my cupboard looked like a literal pharmacy, every vitamin you
Mm.
could find, collagen powders, all these things which are technically, good for you, but you can overdo it on
Yeah.
the vitamins and all this stuff. And I also was miserable at the time because technically I looked great from the outside, but I didn't feel it on the inside. And I think when you're in that state, you always find something to pick apart about yourself. So it wasn't and I've seen a lot of people in Madrid. Like I had a lot of friends who were super built up, like even personal trainers, and they would always, there's always that mentality like, okay, I need to train more, I need to push
Mm,
myself further. And
mm,
when that burnout hits, and for me, it wasn't until COVID when, literally everything's closed down and gyms and everything went away. But I was never more miserable when I was at my fittest because I wasn't doing it for myself. I was doing it for the validation of the
yeah.
gay community and this pressure to make up for lost time because I felt like 18 to 25, I hadn't experienced, it was only glimpses into the gay world for me. And I wasn't taking care of my mental health in that time. I was building up more and more insecurities. And so it's like when COVID hit, it was such a crash for my mental health, for my physical health. And I went the opposite way from being obsessive with fitness to the type of person, no joke, that would drink 3 cans of Monster Energy drink a day, not care about
Mm,
my fitness at all, and then self-hate, but self-hate through eating really bad and
mm,
just completely lost how I looked and then hate that even more. And
yeah.
I would get to the point of body dysmorphia where I didn't want to date anymore. I hated even looking in the mirror. And suddenly I realized, okay, there's a lot of baggage to deal with. And I was so burnt out because I was teaching at the time and I felt like I still had to put on this happy face to the class.
Mm,
And then I'd go home and be miserable. Everything was closed still in like 2021, pretty much. And it became very erratic then after that. Like I'd return to the gym, but then I'd fall off the wagon and maybe I'd be working out, but the nutrition was gone. And it became all this stuff going on in my head, which I realized was things I needed to deal with internally. And then I just crashed like completely. I went through, I'd say 2 years ago, there was like a very long period where just this chronic fatigue and depression where I
mm,
couldn't get out of bed like many days
mm,
and even eating like just to get my meals in for the day. So I became very thin, very unhealthy in that sense, and this constant negative voice. But I'd always had um, good health prior and not really realized or looked after it in the best way. Like I thought I was in Madrid, like 2016 to COVID, but it was obsessive and it was all through comparing myself to, how those people would look in the clubs, the nightlife, Instagram, and feeling like I always say like the turnip and that doesn't fit in the fruit bowl. Like I
mm.
always felt like that with the community. I felt like, okay, I'm not, and this happens, I think, with a lot of us when we self-critique. Like, I felt like, okay, maybe I'm not the funniest, or my stimming from my speech. I like analyzing everything, so I've got to put everything into my fitness. And in doing that, I didn't surround myself with the right people, and so I always felt lonely. And I was trying to fit into this community. And so when the burnout hit, it was like, okay, who actually am I? Who are my friends? Why am I doing all these things? And what do I actually enjoy? And so a big part of the last 2 years has been unpacking that and realizing a lot of it did come from childhood wounds and that I had to forgive not only
Mm,
myself, but parts of my upbringing with my father and things that the toxic
yeah.
masculinity that maybe ran in the family and certain things passed down through generations. Like we were very much the family outside of me and my mom that brushed everything under the carpet, resolving like mental health topics. It just wasn't brought up. And so me and my mom really have a relationship now where there's nothing off topic for us. We discuss exactly
Mm,
how we're feeling. And
amazing.
I I still, even in that sense, like when I went to Barcelona last year, I tried it out for 2, 3 months in the summer before I moved there properly in October. And I'd had like a 2 year break almost from
Mm.
Madrid and that world. And immediately I found myself back in it, but again, feeling like, okay, now I'm really skinny. I don't, I'm not how I was before. And so again, the negative voices playing into it. And yeah, it's like I said before, it wasn't until December last year when I basically had my health taken away. I was beaten up really badly in the hospital.
Mm.
And what followed on was, seizures. And I really had this panic that I was never going to get well again because I'd be falling in the street, constant like knee injuries.
Mm.
And so even thinner, and I had to find like something to get me out of my head and to really persevere, because I think at the time they could not tell, like with the hospital, they kept saying it's related to PTSD, almost like a PTSD related epilepsy that I was
Mm.
going through, and lots of tests. And that went on from like December to March, this fear
Mm.
constantly of I'm going to be in hospital again, or I'm not going to make it. Anytime my heart rate would rise, or anytime I do intense fitness again, like I went in February, I did like a really long hike from all the way from like imagine Plaza España in Barcelona to past Badalona and back on like one of those sunny
Mm.
days. But I didn't hydrate properly, and I ended up in hospital again for
Oh.
rhabdomyolysis, which was really bad because the muscle fibers were basically leaking into the bloodstream.
I.
And so with all of this, I reached a point like, okay, mentally, I've got to get myself out of this place of panic and start appreciating the day to day. And whether I just walk down the street with my headphones, that's something
Mm.
was taken for granted even before, being in this
Yeah.
weird relationship with my body. And gradually I've found over the months that followed, because these they seem like such small milestones, but just being able to walk a kilometer and then maybe 2 kilometers and maybe return to the
Mm.
gym, I've been so appreciative of that, but also enjoy it a lot more. And if I don't want to go, not go. If I want a carrot cake, have a carrot cake. But before it was like almost like this military sort of
Yeah.
routine that I had. And then it was, like I said, after COVID, very unhealthy. And now finding the balance and also healing a lot of the wounds, because I think what can happen is if it wasn't fitness, I would have put it on with my body dysmorphia into something else. It would have been, with my something to do with my aging, with my appearance, with losing some of my hair as I get older. You tend to put it on something else.
Yeah.
So you've got to find within yourself um, what's triggering you and what are those wounds from the past. And in identifying them, I think that's the first step, like the awareness, because a lot of them get buried like from childhood, and they come out as
Yeah.
we, get triggered, or something can just bring them up. And then once we've got the awareness, it's like, okay, what do we do with them? And I think for you, when that came up, you really persevered, and having such a, because yeah, I think in Ireland to have that sense that, being diagnosed with cancer, but okay, it's going to be good. And
Mm.
then, because people freak out, I imagine like when you told your
Yeah.
family, like it was very difficult at first for them. And for a lot of people, when they hear the C word, it's like their mind goes to the worst, right?
That was exactly, that was the hardest part. Seeing the reaction of my family, my mom crying, blaming herself
Yeah.
for me having cancer. So it was just it looked, now when I look back, it kind of looked like a real, like honest, raw way of mindful living,
Yeah.
right? I mean, because we all try to be mindful and be in the moment, be in the present. So we go out to nature. We try to be, hopefully as often as possible, mindful as we eat, as we have that sip of water, be grateful for it. But
Yeah.
actually, in my case, I had no other option. I didn't know if I'm going to be around tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I didn't have time to spend on um, reimagining my past or blaming myself. Like for example, I remember, and it was something again intuitively that I felt how when people came to me, friends and family, and they were like asking me, "Oh, why you? Right? Why is
Yeah.
it happening to you?" And I was like, "What should I hope that it would happen to you? Like, I'm not gonna put this in my
Yeah. Yeah.
mindset. Why am I the one? Oh, poor me, poor Piotr." No, that was
Yeah.
something that I feel like the story and it might be very triggering for people when they hear this, but it is my story, so I want to share that experience.
Yeah.
That it has been a teacher for me. It has
Yeah.
been a teacher how to live life and what really matters. We all talk about these slogans, your health is your wealth, but do you
Yeah.
really, really, really pay attention to your health as much as towards your success or your money or your incomes, whatever? No. It's almost like society told us to work now, do more now, and
Yeah.
then one day in the future, you might, have a nice retirement, and then you're gonna enjoy life. No, and I am the advocate and the unpacker to say
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
you that it is your time right now. You do not have to go through something with, you don't have to be beaten up. You don't have to go through cancer. You don't have to prove your worth. You
Yeah.
can already now today decide to be kinder to yourself. And that, I think, it's the big one. And this is such a big topic and such an important topic. And I'm so glad you're bringing that up, because the physical appearance, physical body, you
Yeah.
know, in the queer community is so idolized. It's
Yeah.
so brought to the surface of, like, you look a certain way and maybe you have more partners, so it suddenly it just
Yeah.
becomes this broad term of, like, it's not only accepting yourself for who you are, accepting your own body for as it is, but
Yeah.
through your body you want to almost project and feel the acceptance from others. Is this good
Yeah.
enough? Is this chest good enough? Is this shoulder good enough? Is this bicep? And I remember going through my body dysmorphia, and I do believe, because it's a journey, I do feel that up until now I still have moments, especially when I'm sleep deprived,
Yeah.
especially when my sleep is affected. I still have the old voice coming back
Yeah.
and telling me, you're fat, you're
Yeah.
this, look at this, this is, and the narrative comes back, right? But what I'm doing right now, and what you mentioned, is I'm aware of it. So
Yeah.
I'm not staying in that, in that darkness, in that evil self-talk, self-hatred. So, and one of the reasons, again, why mindful fitness is because I never wanted to pay for a personal trainer that would be a bully and criticize me and tell
Yeah.
me, no, you're doing this wrong. Come on, go faster. And I've seen PTs doing that. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is not how I'm going to be. I already have the bully in my head. Why would
Yeah.
I pay
Yeah.
you to be a bully as well as a PT? No. So this is why my success right now with mindful fitness comes that I am a kind personal trainer. You will
Yeah.
get the results, but you need to understand that you have to feel good in your body to look good, not the
Yes.
other way around, right? This is the
Yeah.
big one, right? Where
Yeah.
people think, oh, if I look a certain way, then I'm going to feel good. No,
Yeah.
biggest lie ever. You have to feel good. And by moving a bit, being more kinder to the body, and seeing as well your old self, your younger self, and the pictures of your young self without the t-shirts, for example, where I still remember how I felt when those pictures were taken, and I begged everyone to remove them, delete them, because I looked fat. And I
Yeah.
looked back at those pictures, I'm like, oh my goodness, like I looked amazing. I looked
Yeah. Yeah.
phenomenal, right? So it's almost like a a self-awareness that must happen each single day, each moment. And the more you can catch
Yeah.
these thoughts and these, like, limp beliefs, and be like, well, I don't need to have a body to be accepted or aesthetically pleasing. And what is happening, which is actually worse, is that we try to have bodies that we will never have. Meaning, we look
Yeah.
at a picture of an actor, and we're like, I want that body. Well, good luck, but you'll never have it, right? This is
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
you're Connor, I am Piotr. We are set in a body that we already have. We can make that body fitter, stronger, feel good in the body. Yes, by all
Yeah.
means. But you will not be a soccer player. You will not be that model that you saw on the beach. You will
Yeah.
not. Okay. You can maybe congratulate them on being disciplined, determined, but at the same time, I have my self-talk now telling me I want to eat that carrot cake.
Yeah.
So, and I want, and I want to have a pizza. So I'm kind of letting go of my beautiful sculpted six-pack abdominal visible. No, I don't want that. I actually feel like, you know what? I prefer to live life. I'm 40 in 3 months' time. I'm
Yeah.
having a good life right now, and I'm feeling good in the body that I have.
Yeah. I think that's so important because, as well, if you tend to have, the mindset, I always think it trickles into other areas. So you've got to find that real embracement with yourself and comfortability, because if not, if it wasn't body related, it just bleeds into something else.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially, when we've grown up with, especially in the queer community, there's so many rejections, characters we've had to play. And so it has to be across the board. Like, you have to sort of find that inner, um, I don't know the word, but the inner ability not to be self-rejective, if that's even a word,
Yeah.
in the sense that, you've got to be like, look, for me, one thing I've practiced is, and it sounds so simple, but waking up, and when I wake up and look in the mirror, just saying one kind thing to myself for the day. And
Mm.
like,
Yeah.
it sounds like such a simple thing, but I could not do it. Like, I used to wake up and
Mm.
immediately I'd find something wrong with myself and obsess over it. And it bled into even simple things like going to the grocery store. I like would be sculpting my hair and everything had to look. I know I don't care, but it's like, when I look back, these things were really like
Yeah.
detrimental to my health. And when I look back at, like, when I used to be the party boy in Madrid going out, I used to ruin my friends' nights out a lot because I'd spend half the night fixing my hair in the bathroom, like, oh, if I didn't go home with a guy's number, oh, I'm ugly. I need to work harder at the gym. And what I found now is I just really simple things like telling something kind to myself, going on that hike and just putting some French house music on and just
Yeah.
going like off for an hour off into the countryside. Like, I've got that healthy balance. I'm still working on it because occasionally, yeah, that negative voice does creep back in. But I think for me, what's helped is on social media as well. I don't put out this image of everything's perfect anymore. I used to very much do, like, through Instagram and socials, I felt the pressure to have the shirtless selfies or
Mm.
the like create a narrative that wasn't necessarily me. And now if it's Hot Mess Express, I'm like, whatever. It's like
Love it. Love
it's
it. Love it. Love it.
because I think so
Yeah.
many of us, like, and I think because I've had friends, people I've dated that have been very much, you know, they want to create this specific image on whether it's Instagram, TikTok, whatever, being able
Mm.
to let go of that and just have my authentic life. And if that's just me and the cats or me on a hike, whatever it is, eventually, you just the pressure comes off. You start to find more of a peace within yourself. And it's a journey for everyone,
Mm.
everyone's at the different points in it. But I think we all can get there eventually, but you have to be
Mm.
kind to yourself and to forgive past versions of yourself or certain people that you might have felt pressured you to look a certain way, or maybe they weren't even pressuring you, you felt like they were. And so a lot of it comes into that forgiveness aspect.
We need more authenticity. And I actually add as well to that, because now I feel like a lot of people are trying to be authentic only in one area of their life and
Yeah.
then deciding to just like hide. So if you go through my social media and both LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, you'll see raw authenticity. You'll see
Yeah.
moments where I literally voice that I don't want to be on social media. I literally voice that I have a bad day. I
Yeah.
voice that, that my self-talk still came back. And it's so important because, we are and this is the beauty of the kind of work that I do, but also I feel like you do. We kind of do that, and I think this is the importance of the work. We kind of do that for our younger selves,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is my client, my younger self, because my younger self never had a role model like me.
Yeah.
I felt very lost, felt very much, suffering, challenged all the time. So I really want to make sure that whoever watches my Instagram and my LinkedIn will see themselves, in my stories, in my journeys, in stress and body identification and excuse me, in fitness, etc. And actually, when you said about mirror work, I actually want to say, have you been scrolling through my social media? Because I mean, I know you have,
Yeah.
as I
Yeah.
did as well.
Yeah.
But mirror work is one of the most powerful practices that I repeat every single day, and it's so hard, so difficult. Especially I do it, and I teach everyone to do it in that certain way as well. If whenever you're ready, always say out loud my name. I say Piotr. I
Yeah.
am proud. And then I say, Piotr, I am proud. And I mentioned
Yeah.
7 things that I'm proud of, right?
Yeah.
Then I say, Piotr, I forgive you for, and 7 things.
Yeah.
And every time I say my name, because the subconscious listens, it's
Yeah.
very clever. And then I say, Piotr, I commit. I
Yeah.
commit that you're going to have a heartfelt conversation with Connor, making sure
Yeah.
that the LGBTQ plus community will receive this message, whatever we're sharing. So, and the
Yeah.
mirror work has proven to me that I need to be my own best friend first before
Yes.
I have any relationship with anyone else. I
Yeah.
started to really like myself first, then love myself first for who I am as I am, with all my baggage, with all
Yeah.
my shadows, all my work that still is unpacking, and see as well that through that I'll be then attracting the love, the friendships, the real connections, the raw authenticity, people like yourself. We met at one award gala, and here we are today,
Yeah. Yeah.
together. And definitely this friendship will be evolving and growing. So it's so important to find your voice, which you already have, take your essence out to the world and be your authentic self without hurting anyone. But also don't pay too much attention about that. Just be like, I'm doing this for me. This is
Yes.
my life. This is my life, right? I'm doing this life for me and I matter. And the most important thing, which I hope everyone can resonate with, which has given me so much acceptance, is this one sentence. Nobody has this life figured out. So do not give
Yes.
permission to anyone to tell you how to live your life. No
Yeah.
one has that right. You are the author, the actor, you are writing your script. So make sure that this is going to be an incredible book full of amazing chapters that are going to be representing you.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's so important. And I always say, like, that's one of the things why I called it the Queerness Diaries, because I think when we look at our different chapters of life, and we never know with the pages of our chapter how long it's going to last until we transition into a new one, or when one's going to end. But you've got to learn to embrace each chapter and learn from all the past chapters to really look to the future. And I've definitely found, like, a lot of things come back as well that maybe I used to suppress as a child, or as through my adolescence, that I really enjoy now, that I maybe shut down to play
Mm.
these characters. And now I'm like, I really embrace this aspect of myself. Like, if I want to, geek out to some cheesy pop music from 2002, which I used to hide the
Yeah.
CDs away from my parents. I will do it now. It's
Listen,
like
I have,
become
I
this
have,
my
I
life.
have, I have. I'm sorry to interrupt you really quickly, but I have the best workouts lately to 70s and 80s music. And
Oh
people
yeah.
are thinking, I'm like, my face is like really like, oh, getting through the grind, and here I am, having, Brotherhood of Man or ABBA playing or Bee Gees in the background. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, yeah, it's so good. And what I wanted to talk about as well before we wrap up is specifically in terms of the brief work you do, just so people can know in terms of how it can really help them to focus and the benefits it can have. Because I know for a lot of people, it's something that they're curious about, but maybe they've not gotten into before. And I think it's something that can be such a useful tool for grounding yourself and being in the present. And it can, and you really focus on like that a lot. I've seen on your Instagram, you've got a lot of videos on YouTube, which people have to check out. So if you could talk a little bit like that and what you focus on and the importance of it, how it's helped you and for other people as well.
Mm. Thank you for that question. If you're on a platform, a social media platform like Instagram or LinkedIn, please feel free to not only follow me but send me a message that maybe something resonated in this beautiful conversation that we're having with Connor. On Instagram, you can find me under MiFit_coach, and on LinkedIn, my full name Piotr Ciepiel, Piotr Ciepil, and so. In regards to the programs that I run, and I call them Unpack Yourself for a healthier body, calmer mind, and energetic abundance, I guide people through all of their limitations, blocks, anything that is consciously stopping them. Maybe they're unable to attract a love partner or a relationship. Maybe they feel like their health is lacking, physical health, mental well-being. Maybe they feel like they could attract even more money, right? Success. So all of these limitations, blocks, stories, beliefs, they can be unpacked, right? And you can truly step out of this this cage and sometimes comfort zones are really cages, because you must feel a little bit of discomfort to evolve, to grow, and to become healthier, wealthier, more loving, attracting more love, etc., etc. So through the initial interview that I would have with a person, deep questions for the conscious mind, we go into energetic work. Breath work and somatic experiences, somatic exercise is something that I do with my clients. And I know that there's such a hype now about breath work. I have been fully qualified with a school called Soma Breath, Harvard University studied school. So a lot of the work that I do with the breath work is helping people unpack, remember the greatness, and really tap into the ability to reprogram their mind and put in something that will finally elevate them. As we spoke about before, any of your past stories, limitations, your parents, your generations, I'm unpacking my 7 generations back. Like the pain of war is now, it still holds on to our DNA, our cells in our body, as I call cells of wisdom. So by the guidance of through breathwork, somatic experiences, meditations, I will help you to be unpacked from that layer, from that conditioning, and step into whatever your intention is, whatever you want to bring into your life, that high vibration. I can help you with that. So there's a coaching program, there's a mentorship 3-month program, and there's also, if you're a part of a company, there's also the corporate Unpack Yourself, where I do speaker events and programs for your well-being, for the team, for the leadership, to help you really connect with releasing stress, being more energized, and knowing as well how you can be in full control of your own nervous system. And I think once we have that awareness, and once we know how to do that, you become a limitless being. You truly can achieve anything you want in your life. So from speaker events, workshops, one-on-one sessions, coaching, mentorship, retreats, you just contact me and we're going to have a brilliant conversation together. I think at this time as well, my voice, so your subconscious knows me, and I hope we can resonate as well through different stories. And I hope I'll be somebody that you need in this moment in time on your journey.
Yeah, I think it's so great what you do, and for so many people, it's so important. And definitely for people, check out. You've got your YouTube and Instagram, so people can get a good sense through there as well to what you do. But yeah, I think it's so awesome what you're doing for people, because it's really about unlocking those aspects of yourself and to have you being able to mentor, and so many people can then unpack parts of themselves. And through breath work, people don't realize how much it can make such a big difference. Like once you get into the routine of it, it can really start to shift things in a way that you didn't even think that it could. And once it becomes part of a routine, it becomes
Mm.
easier and easier to do. And yeah, I need to start doing more of it myself,
Yeah.
actually. I'm
No,
gonna practice some today. Yeah.
it's a true ripple effect, right? I mean, once you start taking ownership over your health and energy, and breathwork is energy, and we are energetic beings, and it's all
Yeah.
somewhere locked in us, or or the pain, the wound. It's needed to come to the surface, so you can now, from an adult perspective, look
Yeah.
into that. And again, because I work as well with our beautiful community, our beautiful queer community, and my story is so resonating with the coming out, and the pain that I felt, the challenges that I felt, the bullying, the body shaming, so I can really be that helping friend's voice that
Yeah.
can bring you out of all of that past and bring you to a state of overall well-being and bliss.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's super cool. And then before we go, because I know you do some super awesome speeches, have you got any upcoming speeches through the autumn that people can check out and sign up for, that you want to tell everyone about? Because I always admire your confidence in commanding the stage. Like I've only done one speech, but I've seen like you do super awesome. And have you got any upcoming events that people can check out and sign up for?
I love being on stages. I love, and this is not ego talk. This is pure delivery of a journey that I've been through in my life, and giving tips, tools, strategies, how a person can just live a more aware life, more calmer life, peaceful life, not run all the time. So, as you mentioned YouTube several times as well, absolutely, yes. There's free breathwork there. There's the movement part as well. My sessions are called Strength Meets Mindfulness. But in this is we're going into autumn winter, and working with companies as well. This is the season of mental health awareness months, men's mental health, cancer awareness. So October, November. So I will be doing quite a lot of corporate work, in person, but also online via Zoom. Now, these obviously are corporate
Yeah,
private
yeah,
clients of mine that have booked me for several topics in regards to the mental health space, the cancer awareness space, the men's mental health and physical health. So I'll be definitely bringing. I always bring, to all these like really heavy subjects, I bring a bit of fun and engagement and
yeah,
interaction with, because I feel like we are putting so much challenges on top, as you said as well, cancer, the big C, like, oh my God,
yeah, yeah,
and I was like that as well. But actually, when we start using a bit more fun and engagement with
yes,
the audiences, and that's what I do, you can look at it in a different way. But definitely, once you sign up to, or once you follow me on the different social media accounts, you'll see as well the different events that I'll be hosting. I will be in Ireland very soon, and then in London in the UK. So I'll be doing my events there. I have a beautiful community there, and you can by all means join one of the in-person events. But also a lot of online Zoom free sessions will be available throughout autumn, winter, from breathwork to talks and to an online retreat for mental and physical health, so that I can help everyone, myself included, prepare for the autumn, winter darkness and coldness and January blues after Christmas and all that. I cannot believe we're actually talking about that when it's
no, I
still
can't
sunny
believe the
outside.
year is almost, yeah,
Yeah,
3 months to
yeah.
Christmas, right?
Although listen, I mean, I am a Christmas child, so
Yeah,
I
same,
said
same.
I said the other day, I was like, oh my God, Christmas is coming, and the person was like, literally, like, we still have like the full months of like October, November, December. Will you calm down? So, but I'm like, no, I am not calming down. Christmas is coming.
Yeah, I know. I keep seeing those memes of like Mariah Carey is slowly defrosting. Right? But honestly, thank you so much for joining me today and the work you do.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, I'll include all your socials. And so, yeah, everybody, you've definitely got to check this out. So thank you so much, Piotr, for joining me today on the pod.
An absolute pleasure. Super grateful for you, for our friendship, and for you to bring this to the world. Thank you so much, Connor.
Yeah, it's been so great having you on. And so, for everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Queerness Diaries. And we'll be back next week. So, awesome. Thank you very much.